Alright, well I got the tank off of this thing. It was a little bit harder than I thought it would be. There's only 3 bolts holding it in here, but it's kind of wedged up against this gauge and up against the air cleaner here. So I had to pick it straight up so the bolts would clear and then kind of unwedge it from there. I couldn't go that way because obviously there's a bunch of hydraulic lines. So I had to pull her out this way, and I got it out. And I took a peek inside the tank. I don't think you'll be able to see it in there, but there's just a ton of flaky rust in the bottom of this tank. I don't think I'm going to get a good shot of it, but there's a lot of flaky rust in the bottom of the tank, and I think I'm just going to put some gas in it, swish it around, and try to dump it out the top, because it's too thick or too big. The pieces are too big to actually fit out the bottom. Some of them are. So we'll try to clean her out with gas. Somebody suggested using vinegar to kind of clean the tank up and get rid of the rust that's on the tank, which probably wouldn't be a horrible idea. Except for I want to run this yet today, hopefully get it back together and get it going. And I don't want to introduce any kind of water or water-based stuff in the tank because I wouldn't be able to dry it out in time. Also, there's it looks like there's a baffle in here right about here, so if I get water past that, it'll probably be pretty difficult to get it all out. So I'm going to swish it around with gas, and we'll throw it back on. And I got a new fuel bowl and a bunch of other parts, so we'll get those on, and hopefully we'll get it running today. Alright, I got the tank cleaned out a little bit, and I've got it back on the tractor here, and got the throttle linkage hooked back up. And this is what I pulled out of the tank. I poured fresh gas in, and this is what came out. Let's see, there's some big chunks in there. Now I'll pour this off, and I'll show you all the rust in the bottom of it. But now that that's in there, we can go ahead and throw the fuel bowl on, the sediment bowl. Well, there's all the crap that came out of the tank. You can see there's quite a few big chunks of rust in there. I'm sure there's more in the tank, but we got the majority of the really big stuff out, I think. And you saw how well it ran with all that in the gas tank, so I think it'll run just fine with whatever little bit's left in there. So let's get that fuel bowl on. Alright, I got the fuel bowl installed, and now I have to put the fitting in there. And they send you 2 sets of fittings, 4 fittings in all. And this one is actually the one that goes onto the fuel line here. Since I'm not replacing the fuel lines, I won't need that one. And the other one screws into the sediment bowl itself. And they give you 2 different styles of these fittings. Well, you're probably not going to get a good shot of it, but one of them, which is the one in the bag, is for a normal flare, sort of like this flare. And then the other one, the one outside the bag, is one for a bubble flare, like this. So I'm going to screw this one for the bubble flare into there, and then screw the line in, and we should be good to go. As long as you can figure out which one's which and not screw them up, you should be fine, because I think if you put that other one on there, it'd probably leak. Now that the sediment bowl and the fuel line are all installed, I think it's time to move on to the carburetor. And take a look at it here on the bench, and as you can see, it's pretty filthy. Pretty nasty. I'll clean it up a little bit, but you guys saw how well it ran before, so I think I'm just going to clean it up a little bit and put it back together with some new parts here. I've got the carburetor back on and back together and hooked up. I didn't film any of it because I didn't really rebuild it. I just replaced a few parts and kind of cleaned it up some. Hopefully it won't leak. Kind of worried about that because they've drilled into the body of it to replace the screws there with nuts and screws, because I don't know, I guess they were rusted in or broke off or something. Hopefully it won't leak and the float will work. But I've gone ahead and I've got that in, and I've taken off the bottom of the air cleaner here, and it appears like some bees have been trying to live in there. Probably not the best spot. And I dumped out the oil in the bottom of it, and there's the bees. They didn't make it, so I'm going to clean that out, put that back on, and then I'll probably pull this thermostat housing off and check that out, see what it looks like in there, and replace that. Then we can throw the radiator on, and I think we'll be ready to fire it up. Well, I kind of skipped ahead a little bit, but I got everything back on. I got the radiator back in. I've got my new little rubber pads on the bottom of it. I also tore this apart and put a new thermostat in it. It actually looked better than I thought it would, so I don't know if that'll help or not. But it's back together. It runs. I drove it over here, filled up the radiator. I don't see any leaks yet. There's no leaks coming out of the fuel bowl or anything that I can see. It actually looks pretty clean in there, which means the gas is relatively clean in the tank. Fires up, runs pretty good. I might have to do a little bit of tweaking, but other than that, it's alright. I'm almost done and ready to put the tin on. I've got to wire up that alternator first, and then I suppose grease everything. I'll have to get in here where the steering is and put a little grease in there, I think, and get the other couple of bolts for it. And obviously I have to change this tire out still. But overall, you know, it runs and drives. That was my goal for today. So let's fire it up and park it over that way out of my garage so I can actually work on my car.